Okay, so I think we can start. Thank you very much. As I was saying, to join us, we have attendance today from all around Europe, and we are very glad to have reached your attention with this webinar. The so-called sister projects, which are BIOMETHAVERSE, HYFUELUP, METHAREN, and SEMPRE-BIO. We drafted at the end of last year a second joint report on policy recommendations on biomethane production in Europe. And this was one of the commitments that we made with CINEA when we were all granted funding under the same call and topic. And in today's webinar, representatives from these four European projects are gonna share the main findings on this second report that was entitled State of Play of Biogas and Biomethane in Europe. Joining us today, we count on Maria Georgiadou to make the presentation of this webinar. Maria Georgiadou is the senior expert of the DGRTD in the European Commission. And just before giving her the floor, I just want to make two brief announcements for all the people that have joined the webinar. First of all, at the end of the webinar, we will have some time to accept some questions from the audience. So if within the webinar you feel like asking us, the speakers, anything, please feel free to do it. And on the other hand, right after the webinar, the four projects will start the dissemination of this joint report that I've mentioned. So if you are interested in getting deeper with this document that we believe that is very interesting, please feel free to check the websites of the different projects and also to keep update with our social media, because we will be sharing it and you will have access to all the information that today we are presenting. And with this said, I'm just giving the floor to Maria Georgiadou. And thank you again to join us, everybody. And we really hope that everything that we are sharing today here with you is gonna be from your interest. And Maria, whenever you can start. Thank you very much.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you very much to the four projects organizing this webinar and welcome me in this getting together, I will say, around the biomethane production in the EU. I am really in support of these technologies for the production of biomethane, because the potential of this renewable gaseous fuel is quite large. And before I go to the more details on the technology, I would like to tell you what are the latest updates in the EU policy scene around, in general, the green, now we call it clean industrial transition or clean industrial plan. As you know, we do have the climate law. The climate law is in force, and foresees 55% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in 2030 and climate neutrality in 2050, and relies on renewable energy technologies and renewable gases, of course, to reach this goal. There is an indicative target for 40% for 2040 for 90% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions that is not yet regulated, but it is expected to be regulated by the end of this year within the Green Industrial Plan. And all of you know that we have the REPower EU with the target of 35 billion cubic meters production of biomethane locally in the EU by 2030. And also we have the gas, the hydrogen, the renewable hydrogen and gas markets in the EU, which also promotes the gases in the EU energy market. Now, having said that, in order to really help the manufacturing in the EU and under the Green Industrial Plan, we had the NZIA, the Net Zero Industrial Act, that focuses in the support of net zero emissions manufacturing or clean technology with net zero emissions in the EU. This act has also delegated acts on which are the components of the various clean technologies that are going to be supported by the EU. In these delegated acts, which are going also to be very soon released, we have the support to sustainable biogas and biomethane manufacturing components. So this is coming up very soon. Also support to other sustainable fuels for aviation, maritime, and the RFMBOs is included. And under the STEP, the Strategic Technology Energy Platform Technologies, biotech, RFMBO, sustainable biogas fuels are also included. Now, the hottest news today are the first, we have a little bit, the last month, the competitiveness compass, which has been announced. It's a communication by the Commission. And this communication looks actually to the increasing the competitiveness of the EU industry by looking at the markets and the prices, and there are some pillars along which they work, like to have an integrated roadmap, to collaborate better between the national policies and the EU policy, and also to look at the cost of the energy. And today, there is this clean industrial plan coming out to be announced, if it is not yet announced, because I'm not currently in the office. But this clean industrial plan is the one that are going to reform the green transition of the EU industry on a more competitive basis, meaning that it is going to present a business case for the green transition in the EU. And I'm going to look at the energy prices and how to reduce. It is going to look at the skills, how to reskill the technologies or the production of energy where it is needed. It is going to look on the competition, meaning how to place the EU production and manufacturing in the global arena with global partnerships, and all this to put more investments, to support the investments, to support the scale-ups of technologies, and all this, as I said, to have a better business case for EU manufacturing clean technologies. So within this idea, of course, sustainable biogas and biomethane production in the EU play an important role. We have foreseen already from the previous years this role. That's why we have this cluster of projects that they were already financed under the 21-22 work program. That was the first bunch of work programs in Horizon Europe. And we looked at the demonstration because the aim was really to make production of innovative technologies, production of biomethane through innovative technologies possible in the EU. And I hope today these projects that they are financed, they have something good and promising to tell us. Having said that, we know that still the biomethane production in the EU is low. I think it is around 4 or something around this BCM, while we have about 21 combined production BCM of biogas and biomethane. So a lot needs to be done, because through biogas, either you have to upgrade the biogas or you have to go from another innovative technology back to the direct production of biomethane. Now, what happens now in the terms of RNI support? We reached the end of the 24th call. We have already closed the 2 calls that were in this work program. We had integrated biorefineries. I'm sure there are many integrated biorefineries based on biogas and biomethane also included into this call. We are going to present very soon the 25 work program. National state authorities, they already have it, but officially the work program is going to be adopted early in April 25, and before this an announcement will be done. I also can say that on 6th of May 2025, we will have the first information day. The first calls open right that time and close in September, but there will be a second bunch of calls that will be opening in January, I think. Close in January or open in January. I don't have the real details in my mind right now, but this will be all announced. And now, since this is done, we are working on the work program 26-27, which is also going to be adopted by the end of this year. So more calls are going to be expected and synchronized, let's say, with the calls of 25 with a few months in difference. This saying that, I mean that there will be a continuous flow of RNI support starting this late spring up to 2027, and while at the same time we're preparing the FP10, the next framework program for research and innovation. Now, what will be the role of renewable gases and biomethane into this? Of course, as I said, there always an important role for this. There is an important role for this to play. I think now if we have the demonstration of biomethane production through innovative technologies, the next step will be the scaling up. And it will be very interesting for me and for the stakeholders also to see how this can be scaled up, what is necessary and what support can be given, which is in our minds to give support for scaling up, of preparing the scaling up of certain technologies in the area of renewable energies, including renewable fuels, liquid and gaseous. I think this is all of most of the news that are of interest to you. Of course, we have a study done, and many of you have seen this study on the industrial capacity, the potential of industrial capacity for advanced biofuels in the EU. This included also advanced biogases and biomethane. And our study showed that there is a very important role for these advanced biofuels and gases in the EU, in particularly for 2030, and this role becomes even more important for 2050, as these technologies actually are scaled up and the value chains are established in the EU. So to me, the message is that we need to establish these value chains. Now, this is the time to establish the real value chains and to go for real production and higher scale production in the EU. This means that all the fragmentation which is now happening in the EU from north to bottom and from to south and from west to east, including feedstocks, including skills, including know-how, technologies transfer, etc., needs to be bridged. Now, this is something that I really take very seriously, how to establish value chains in this area and how to connect the fragmented areas in all the barriers along the value chain. So I wait with expectations, high expectations, the reports from this cluster to see what are your recommendations in bridging the gaps, not only in the technology, but also on the non-technological barriers in establishing these value chains. And biomethane came out from the industrial survey of our study that will be one of the most important the most important investment capacity that not only now it is currently happening, but also for 2030 and 2050. Of course, that was from anaerobic digestion, but the other technologies through gasification, through the SNG route or through the methane from gasification and then to methanol, these are also extremely important, and we have to find ways to de-risk these technologies and put them into the real commercial place, arena. So with this, I gave you some hints. You have to wait and stay tuned for the topics that are going to be announced and give your inputs and your intelligence in how to really realize this area of production of technologies for biomethane in the EU. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. I think I will have to move on as I cannot stay in your webinar. I will be very interested to receive the recording and the findings and the report, of course. And the other message is, if you need to contact me, please do not hesitate, go through me directly and see how we can cooperate in all this. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Maria, for sharing this, all the EU initiative in the scope of biomethane. It's always a pleasure to get to know it from firsthand. And thank you very much for joining this webinar. So now we are continuing. We will have a total of 4 presentations today by, as I mentioned at the beginning, 4 representatives from the projects that are gathered today in this joint report, which are BIOMETHAVERSE, HYFUELUP, METHAREN, and SEMPRE-BIO. And the first person to make the presentation will be Anna Venturini, which is the policy director of the European Biogas Association. She's gonna make a presentation about the analysis of the NEACPs and countries' potential versus targets. So I am giving the floor to Anna.
Yes, many thanks for giving me the floor. You should now be seeing my slides normally. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Anna Venturini. I'm the policy director at EBA, and I'm obviously very glad to be here today at the joint webinar to present to you the analysis of the NEACPs. Just before diving into today's presentation, just allow me to spend a couple of words about the European Biogas Association and about our activities. So EBA is the voice of biogases in Europe, and we advocate for the recognition as sustainable, on-demand, and flexible energy sources. The association, as of today, can count on a well-established network and growing membership. Just at the beginning of 2025, we have now more than 340 members. We cover all the most important national associations in the EU, but also outside the EU. And thanks to our growing membership, we can cover today all the biogas and biomethane value chain from producers to end users. But where are we today in terms of biogas production, and what does the market of biogas and biomethane look today? Well, we have seen that the sector has steadily incremented the production of biogas and biomethane, so much so that in the last 4 or 5 years, we recorded medium growth of 20% year on year. And actually, 2023 was a very positive year for our sector, where we've registered actually a growth rate of 21% year on year. So looking at the data from 2023 that we published in our statistical report just in the past December, the combined production of biogas and biomethane for 2023 was of 22 billion cubic meters, which is roughly comparable to 7% of the EU gas consumption for the same year. Also comparable to the natural consumption of Belgium, Denmark, and Ireland combined. But of these 22 BCM, 4.9 were of biomethane alone, with an installed capacity already in Q1 of 2024 of 6.4 BCM of biomethane. So we can assume that the growth that we have seen in the sector will continue and will be quite significant. On the slide, you also see a bit other data. For instance, the use of biomethane in different sectors, the different potential for replacement when it comes to digestate, biogenic CO2, and also the creation of green jobs thanks to our sector. But indeed, what about the growth prospects towards 2030? So, as I said, the current biomethane growth rate is of roughly 21% year on year, which is close to the biomethane volume committed in the NEACPs towards 2030. Nevertheless, we see that an accelerated growth is still needed to reach the 35 BCM target that was enshrined in the REPowerEU target and the REPowerEU plan to reach, this target in 2030. As you can see on the right end of the slide, we have a number of projections, and we definitely see that if we continue business as usual, we will not be reaching this target. So what about the NEACPs to 2030, and especially is the planned growth ambitious enough to reach the targets? So just as a brief introduction, you probably know the NEACPs were established under the regulation on the governance of the Energy Union and Climate Action, which is part of the Clean Energy for All European package, which was adopted back in 2019. These plans delineate how the countries, how the European member states may address the 5 dimensions of the Energy Union, meaning decarbonization, energy efficiency, energy security, internal energy market, research, innovation, and competitiveness. So this is a comprehensive approach that needed coordinated efforts across all governments and across all sectors, also to facilitate the attraction of both public and private investments. So as you probably know, member states were required to submit their first draft NEACP for the 2021-2030 period already back in 2018. And then this draft had to be reviewed by the European Commission, which also give its recommendations so that member states are guided in how to detail their plans. Member states are obliged to report their progress every 2 years, with the Commission monitoring overall the progress of every state and the Energy Union report. So by June 30, 2023, the updated NEACPs drafts were due, with the Commission publishing technical assessments and country-specific recommendations by December 2023. As of now, you can see here a bit an idea of where we are. So we have 27 countries have submitted their draft reports, while only 22 have submitted their final NECPs. Out of these 22 NECPs, final NECPs, there are more or less all mentioning at least once biomethane, but only 11 have included a clear biomethane target, and 19 in total have either a biomethane or a biogas target. Looking into the targets that have been included, the total biomethane target at EU level, as per the commitment of the member states that have a clear target, is of around 14.7 BCM by 2030. Here on the slide, you can see more into detail the specific targets from each of the member states that indeed included a target. But here we're looking into what has been committed so far, and we're looking in towards 2030. But what about the future that looks even beyond 2030, sorry. So the projected potential for sustainable production of biomethane by 2050 is of 151 BCMs. Meaning that biomethane could provide for most of the gas demand, determining the decarbonization and defossilization not only of the European gas grid, but also contributing to the decarbonization of other end uses. This is a calculation that was conducted by Gas for Climate in a report that was published last year. And as you can see, the updated estimates compared to the study that was done back in 2022 show that up to 41 BCM of biomethane could be produced in Europe in 2030 and up to 151 by 2050. So looking at these numbers, it is pretty clear that biomethane can be an important actor for not only EU resilience transition, but also balancing the energy trilemma while contributing to the resolution of a number of social challenges, such as waste management, farming emission abatement, affordability, and much more. But we know that the Commission today will be launching the Clean Industrial Deal, but this year will be an important year also for the 2040 targets. And indeed, if we look at the potential for biomethane in 2040, we see that Europe could produce up to 111 BCMs, of which 101 related to the EU27 alone. This potential is made up of both anaerobic digestion, but also thermal gasification. And it's pretty interesting because if we combine these projections with those of the Commission that the Commission calculated in regards to gas demand towards 2040, we see that we would be able, as biogas and biomethane sector, to cover roughly 80% of all EU gas demand by 2040. So indeed, the biogas sector is fast growing, is attracting the interest of both legislators and investors. But indeed, we have to highlight also what the Commission just said just before us. Much has still to be done, not only to reach the 35 BCM target of the REPowerEU plan, but also looking further to 2040 to 2050. And to reach these goals, we need a sound legislative framework and the right regulatory drivers, which will be of paramount importance to enable the scale up of the sector and the green transition of the EU economy as a whole. And indeed, the Commission mentioned the Clean Industrial Deal. We, as EBA, are very, we are awaiting for this communication to come out. And we really hope that biomethane will be given some space and not be overlooked again in favor of other gases that are not necessarily green and sustainable and not competitive nor scalable in the near future, while biomethane is indeed already available, is already contributing significantly to the decarbonization of all of the EU and all of its industries and economic sectors, and indeed can grow in the near future. And indeed, we see that the potential towards 2050 is really impressive. Thank you very much for your attention, and I give back the floor to the organizers.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was very interesting indeed, this analysis among the targets and the real potential of countries. Just a quick reminder for all the attendants to the webinar, the contents that we are sharing today in this webinar will be available in the complete report that we are gonna start disseminating right after the webinar. So anytime that you find something interesting or you want to get more inside any of the data that we are sharing, please, I'm completely sure, we are completely sure that the full report will fulfill those needs. And now we are moving on with Jaqueline Daniel-Gromke. She is the team leader in biochemical conversion at DBFZ. And she is gonna be presenting the highlights of the deployment of biomethane in the selected European countries that feature the joint report that we are today sharing. So please, Jaqueline, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Adrienne, for the introduction, and very welcome to my presentation to all. Yes, I make this presentation today instead of my colleague, Velina. She still is, so all the best for you, Velina. Yes, the presentation is about the policy and the market gaps for the deployment of biomethane in Europe. And I decided to show you or to give you an overview about, let's say about as overview about the policy of the leading countries and how is the policy and the regulations in these countries, and why are there maybe so successful promoting biomethane. Here you can see a slide with the biomethane production in Europe in 2023 with the 10 leading countries. And you see, of course, you already know the leading countries to produce biogas and biomethane are Germany, France, Italy, UK, and Denmark, with in total 86% of the total biomethane production. And regarding the biomethane plants, we have in Europe more than 1,500 biomethane plants installed in operation. Nevertheless, the fast-growing countries producing biomethane in the last year were Italy, France, Denmark, and UK. And I would like to focus on 4 leading countries in my presentation, and we will have a deeper look to the policies promoting biomethane. That is my idea today. So another interesting figure you can see here. Here you can see the biogas and the biomethane production in comparison to the total gas consumption of the top of the top 15 leading countries. And it's quite interesting to see. It is indicated in this figure. It's very important to know. It is indicated that all biogas produced in these countries is upgraded to biomethane. So you can see we have column with biogas production, and we have column with biomethane production according to several countries. And in this figure, you can see according to the natural gas consumption, Denmark and Sweden are the leader producing biomethane, and can cover a very high share of their own natural gas consumption. That is quite important for me. But another thing what I want to tell you and I want to show you is the option that we have in the countries with biogas production. So we have a high share in Denmark and Sweden already producing biomethane with a high amount, but you can see all the other countries with on-site biogas production and utilization, and these countries are able, of course, to or have the potential to upgrade the existing biogas plants from on-site biogas production to produce biomethane in the next years very fast. So, of course, we have the aims. Political aim is to more than doubling the biomethane production by 2030. Currently, we produce 22 billion cubic meter of biogas in Europe, and this can cover 7% of the gas consumption in total. But we need more biogas plants, biomethane plants and biogas plants, and there's a potential to upgrade the existing plants, but we, of course, need more new built biogas and biomethane plants in the next years. That is quite important. Here you can see a joint map of our 4 biomethane projects, the cluster of the biomethane project funded under the same call. And I would like to show you that, that we have in this cluster, more than 65 partners with 14 countries. Analyzing the situation on biogas, biomethane, and are involved in the development of 10 demonstration plants producing biomethane in an innovative way. And we the aim of the joint delivery is to produce a joint report on policy and recommendations on how biomethane and biogas can be promoted in a better way together. So we started and provided a questionnaire last year, and also as the years before, in 2023 and in 2024, and provided this questionnaire on biomethane and provided this questionnaire to all partners of this cluster. And we ask these partners regarding the current situation in their countries regarding biomethane, the framework, the main barriers, the potentials and the perspectives to producing biomethane. And all these information and findings are summarized already in the first and second report. You can still submit it the last 2 years, and you can find these results in these reports. They are available already. Yes, and the results are summarized in the slide. I will present it in the next 5 minutes. Here you can see a slide regarding the biomethane potential in 2030, analyzed by Guitos Netherlands 2 years ago. I just want to show you where the biomethane potential within the next years, according to the countries and according to the kind of technologies providing biomethane. And as you can see, we can cover with our cluster, with our 4 biomethane projects, we can cover a lot of the potential. The leading countries we already heard in the presentation before to provide biomethane are Germany, France, Italy, Spain, but also Poland and UK and all the other combined countries together. So that means we are able to cover a lot of this potential in this cluster, and we are able to give well-positioned recommendations how to provide and how to optimize the biomethane production in Europe. That is the aim. Here you can see an updated, I show you the biomethane potential in 2030. In the slide before here, you can see, it's an updated, a forecast, also analyzed by Guidehouse Netherlands for 2040, sorry. And we can see that in total, it is expected that the biomethane potential, which can be reached in 2040, is more than 100 billion cubic meter biomethane production. And 2/3 of this biomethane can be produced by anaerobic digestion, and 1/3 by gasification, thermal gasification technologies. And yes, it is very important to know that, of course, every country is responsible to identify their own biogas, biomethane potential, and to identify their own market gaps, and are responsible to drive their policy in the right direction. That is of most important. But we analyzed the main barriers regarding this questionnaire we provided to all project partners in the last 2 years, and we can find general main barriers, of course, already presented in the reports. But here in this slide, it is summarized just the main barriers in general, where how to the main barriers promoting biomethane is in most cases it is a missing legal framework for biomethane, and the targets and the perspective, what is missing and what hinder to promote biomethane in the best way. Another point, according to our questionnaire was the long permitting process for the installation and the operation of the plants needs several times, so it should be shorter now to promote this in the right direction. A lack of skilled workers was giving us as a result, and the missing infrastructure. It is quite different in each country, the gas grid's connections, the access to the gas grid, and the pipelines. What is the situation right now? What is the situation regarding the infrastructure in the future? And of course, the cost increases is one point already give us from the project partners what is most important: to have subsidies, to have enough incentive to run a biogas plant or biomethane plant in a very good way. So in total, we can say the long-term perspectives and the planning security for all stakeholder along the value chain is of most important to promote biomethane in Europe. That is in all countries the same situation. But now I would like to show you some slides with aspects in the biomethane situation in these countries. The first slide is according to France. In France, yes, it is a fast-growing biomethane sector in Europe. In the last years, in total, the current biomethane production in France is around 9 terawatt hours. And the target by 2030 is to reach at least 10% biomethane production compared to the natural gas consumption. But the most important, why I decided to select France in this presentation, is maybe an interesting point is that at the beginning of the installation of the biogas production in France, is they decided to there was a must to produce biomethane for, let's say, middle or larger biogas plants. So it was necessary if you have a biogas plants with an installed capacity more than 30 kilowatt electricity, you have to produce biomethane and have to feed it into the natural gas grid. And it is with a tender model. And for smaller biogas plants, there was a fixed tariffs. That is maybe interesting to know why biomethane production is biomethane production in France is of increasing system. Now we have in the next year there's maybe a change in the funding scheme regarding biomethane, and it's expected to have certificates, biomethane certificates, and we will see how it works and how is the situation and how is the running to produce biomethane in this way. It's maybe important to know that most biogas and biomethane produced in France is from organic residues and manure. And they have a limit to produce energy crops. That is in most cases, in most countries, the same situation. And currently is the discussion, if you produce biomethane, it's not only the discussion, many plants are in operation, produce biomethane and use the CO2. That is the most effective point. And we have an increasing CO2 valorization in Europe, but also in France. The next slide I would like to present you is regarding the biomethane situation in Denmark. It's important to know, or interesting to know, that 80% of the biogas produced in Denmark is already upgraded to biomethane, and 40% is injected to the Danish grid system. And it's expected by 2030 to reach 100% of biomethane injection to the Danish gas grid. Yes, it's also a fast-growing country regarding biomethane. And they have a subsidy or support scheme for biogas production for the existing biogas plants until 2032 for at least 20 years. So in this case, we have a long perspective to run the biogas plants. Is of most important to have this attractive incentive. But there is a cap of the production introduced in the subsidies right now, and also in Denmark we have maybe in the next year a new support framework, a new support scheme for biogas and other green gases that's based on tenders. And we will see how it works. Maybe it is, although very important to see that Denmark is one of the first countries with financial incentive to capture and store CO2. We will see how it works. The future tenders, the expectation is that the future tenders will be provided in a better way. And it is expected that these conditions can support the power-to-X technologies. Regarding Italy, it can be stated that also Italy is one of the fast-growing countries regarding biomethane in the last years. Currently, Italy produced a total of 25 terawatt hours of biogas, and the biogas or the biomethane produced in Italy is used for the transport sector. That is a completely other situation than in Germany, for instance. And it's maybe important to know why that in Italy is incentive with the tariffs over 15 years, also a long-term perspective. And we have a minimum grant subsidy which covers the production costs. That is maybe very important. So they give incentives with a high subsidies to produce biogas and biomethane. Though that is maybe the reason why in Italy we have a lot of biomethane production in the last years. And the final slide I would like to present you is Germany. Currently, our biogas production in Germany is around 100 terawatt hours. So biogas, Germany is the leading biogas producers in Europe. But currently we just have 10% biogas in upgrading to produce biomethane. Because we have another framework the last 20 years. So we have, regarding the Renewable Energy Act, the focus was on the electricity production from biogas and biomass. So we focus on the electricity production and the on-site utilization of biogas. So that is a reason why we have a lot of biogas plants with on-site with biogas production and on-site utilization for the CHP, using in the CHP to produce biogas and combined heat. That was the pathway the last 20 years. And it is important to know that we have another situation regarding the substrate, because we use currently a lot of energy crops. So for biogas and for biomethane production. And in the Renewable Energy Act, it is also an aspect to force or to promote biomethane in a flexible CHP. So we have the combination with other renewable energies like wind or solar, and we have the requirements to run the CHP for biogas, but also for biomethane CHP in a flexible, demand-driven way, to have a combination with all renewable energies. That is the aim in Germany. But we see if we used not energy crop-based biomethane or biogas for CHP, the waste we also reused in 20% of our biogas production. We use waste like manure, like bio waste or green cards or something like that. Or industrial residues to produce bio-waste, waste-based biomethane. And this is a promising option for the fuel market in Germany. It's not, there was an energy crisis and the falling greenhouse gas quota the last 2 years. So the market regarding biomethane is a little bit unstable. And so it is no clear perspective to produce biomethane for the transport sector, but it is increasing in Germany on a low level right now. So this is the situation. So you can see we have different policies in different kind of countries, but the most important thing is that we have that each country analyze their own potential, their own barriers, and promote their own policy on biogas and biomethane in the best way, according to their infrastructure and legal framework. That is of most important, but it needs to be stable, with a long perspective, and with a good subsidies to invest in biogas and biomethane. That is of most important. So this challenge is my last slide. This challenge is in the next years regarding our projects or 4 projects or the cluster of the projects to show or to demonstrate. We all analyze innovative technologies in our projects. Methanization technologies, gasification technologies. We have to demonstrate and to analyze are these kind of technologies more efficient and more cost effective than the current one, and can be combined. That is maybe also an aim to combine all these available technologies to produce biogas and biomethane in the best way, and to identify the cost reduction potential to optimize the innovative and all those common technologies. And the last point is the aspect of maybe to have a look to other or alternative substrates, like agricultural residues again, like woody biomass for gasification processes, and to combine all these technologies to increase the biomethane potential in a better way. So that is this challenge, and yes, that is my last slide. I thank you very much for your attention, and also, of course, I would like to thanks to all contributing parties contributing to the surveys and the questionnaires. And yes, in case you have questions, please ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jaqueline, for this overview of the gaps for the deployment of biomethane in Europe, and also what the top countries are doing. Just a quick reminder, if anybody would like to ask any question to our panelists, there's a spot available in the room, so you can write down the question, and we will try to answer them right after the roundtable that we will have at the end of the webinar. And also, as it has been a question several times asked, the four European projects that we are today sharing this webinar, we are BioMETHAVERSE, we are HYFUELUP, METHAREN, and SEMPRE-BIO. And we have made this joint report, this second joint report on policy recommendations that we will be available right after the webinar. And this is the main source of all the information that you are getting today. And let's continue. So far we have a perfect timing. We are continuing with Tim Hammers. He's Secretary General at ERGaR, and he's gonna explain how to go or to advance towards a harmonized cross-border transfer of biomethane certificates and challenges of biomethane trading. So Tim, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Adrian. Yes, as mentioned, Tim Hammers, Secretary General of ERGaR, the European Renewable Gas Registry, and we're part of the METHAREN project as part of this joint cooperation. And I will speak about the cross-border transfers of biomethane certificates and the challenges for biomethane trading in general. And I think to start, it's important to realize what's biomethane trading. Because when biomethane is injected in the grids, it's mixed with natural gas. So if somebody withdraws biomethane somewhere else in the grid, it's not sure that he uses the exact same molecule. So for that reason, they came with a new system with certificates. And I'll maybe start with explaining a bit how the certificates work. As a basis on the trading, because there's several certificates in Europe to make it even more complicated on how you can trade biomethane. So you first have the guarantee of origin, you have the proof of sustainability, and you have other certificates. Maybe we call them in the umbrella term certificates of origin. So if you inject biomethane, you can get a guarantee of origin, you can issue a proof of sustainability. And often in cases where there's no guarantee of origin, you can get another certificate. So how do they work next to each other? So first you have the guarantee of origin. It's coming from the electricity side. So you have the electricity guarantees of origin that proves that you can use renewable electricity like hydropower, solar power, wind power for electricity. And then they implemented this for the biogas or the gas sector in general as well. The main purpose is consumer disclosure, just to inform the end users about the origin of the energy they're using. How does it work? Is you have national registries, government-appointed issuing bodies. These are, and they can issue a guarantee of origin on the request of one of the producers. And then it's in the account of the national registry. And then you can send the certificates from one account to another, from a producer to a trader to an end user that can claim at the end. So this is what they call a book and claim system. So you don't need to trade the natural gas connected. You can just trade the certificate separately. And then in the end, one person can claim that he uses biomethane. Second certificate is the proof of sustainability. That's coming more from the liquid biofuel sites. And here, there are different requirements. So it's not all biomethane that can request a proof of sustainability. It's only for biomethane that meets the sustainability criteria in the Renewable Energy Directive. And if you meet these sustainability criteria, and at the same time you're recognized by or certified by a recognized voluntary scheme, such as ICC, Red Cert, 2BS, Better Biomass, then as a producer, you can issue a proof of sustainability with the biomethane you're producing. In some countries, there are national databases like NEACPs in Germany, but generally this is not in place. The difference is as well that the purpose is different. So here you can use biomethane with a proof of sustainability you can use for the target counting, like transport targets that are set in different countries. And a very important difference is it's a mass balance system. So there should be a link to the proof of sustainability and the biomethane. So you sell the biomethane and then you also send the proof of sustainability as a PDF document next to it. That's the second certificate. And then you have other certificates. These were often introduced before there was a guarantee of origin for biomethane. So you have the DANA registry in Germany, you have AGCS in Austria, you have the GGCS registry in the UK. They're quite similar to the booking claim system from the guarantee of origin. So you just have an account where you have the certificates and then you can send it around, not always being connected to the renewable gas. And in the end, they're also, you can use it for consumer disclosure or for renewable obligations in a specific country. So there are some differences between the different countries. So these are the three main certificates. And when you trade biomethane, it means that you trade either certificates or the natural gas with the certificate, and that's how you trade biomethane. So this is already complicated on paper, I would say, but there's some more challenges which I will present in a bit. So first, you have the cross-border trade of the guarantee of origin or the certificate of origin. So as mentioned, these certificates are held in national registries. And if you want to send it from one account to another, you send it just like in a bank account, you send a certificate from one account of a producer to a trader to an end user. But if you want to send it from one registry to another, it gets more complicated. So if you want to send it from the Dutch registry to a German registry, it gets more complicated. So that's what ERGaR is doing. We provide a centralized hub. So everybody gets all the registries that are connected to ERGaR, they can trade via the ERGaR IT system and following the scheme rules, we can trade from one country to another. So the ERGaR members are the UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Czechia, and Denmark. So if you want to send within these countries, you can do it via ERGaR. What is a key barrier to trade is that there's also another parallel system. It's from AIB, the Association of Issuing Bodies. They've been doing this for electricity, and now they also started this system for gas. And here we see one of the problems already. What's the challenge for cross-border trade is that some countries will be connected to ERGaR, some countries will be connected to AIB. Hopefully, some countries will be connected soon to both. But so far, it's not possible to send certificates from one system to another. So let's say Spain is a country that's connected to AIB, and Germany is a country connected to ERGaR. It's not possible to send certificates from Spain to Germany. So that's definitely a major barrier to trade and clear homework for us, for AIB and ERGaR. We really need to work to make this possible for several technical and historical reasons. We didn't manage yet, but we're really working hard to make this happen because we believe that there should be a harmonized market. So I'd say that's one barrier to challenge. Another one is the Union database. I don't know if many of you heard about it already, but the Union database will change the way how trade of proof of sustainability works. Before, you had to send this proof of sustainability, a PDF document from the buyer to the seller, but now the European Commission is developing EU database where they keep track of the ownership of the proof of sustainability. It's a bit similar to a registry, and it covers all the biomethane with a proof of sustainability. So here you can see this diagram. Biomethane can have a proof of sustainability or a GO, or can have both. So if it has a proof of sustainability or proof of sustainability plus a GO, it can be traded via the UNI database. We're now working, or the European Commission is working towards the final implementation of this UNI database. But one of the clear challenges, there are a lot of open questions, how to work in practice. The concept is very good. It's a very nice system, how it could work, but in practice, there are a lot of open questions, things that need to be solved. So when it will be mandatory, that's unknown, maybe towards the end of the year. They're still discussing this. So this is a challenge at the moment, because it comes with a lot of questions and changes and maybe more administration, but also has a lot of potential to improve the cross-border trade. Yeah, so these are the two main challenges for the guarantees of origin and the proof of sustainability. What are other key challenges for cross-border trades? National rules that hinder cross-border trades. Examples are, for example, the blending obligations in the Netherlands and France. I think was mentioned already by Jaqueline in the previous presentation. There's a new system with a BPC certificate in France, and it is only applicable to biomethane produced in France. So if you want to meet these quotas, you need to use biomethane produced in France. Of course, the consequence is that this will reduce trade, because you cannot use the biomethane from Spain, for example. But also the current scheme rules in Italy make it very complicated to allow cross-border trade. But this is definitely a challenge for cross-border trade. On the other hand, there are clear reasons for this. The national governments, they want to subsidize biomethane production, but ideally in their own country. So if they set up quotas that need to be paid by their citizens, they don't want the citizens to pay for biomethane in another country. So this is a different balance. Do we want to work towards an EU market? I think definitely that should be the end goal. But we also understand that national authorities want to strike the balance with supporting their own industry. So this is definitely another challenge for cross-border trade. And then finally, what are some other challenges for biomethane trading in general? So not so much the focus on cross-border trade. It's the uncertainty in the markets. Some examples, the implementation of the Union database. How does it work? Statistical counting of biomethane between member states. So what if biomethane is subsidized in one country? Can it be used for quotas in another country? That create a lot of uncertainty. And an important one is how to calculate the biomethane as part of the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. Bit of background, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol is a US-based organization, international NGO, that sets rules how corporates need to calculate their greenhouse gas emissions. There's scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And if you want to reduce your emissions, you need to follow these rules. But they don't really provide clear rules on how biomethane can be used to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. And considering most corporates use this Greenhouse Gas Protocol, they are a bit hesitant to invest in biomethane because they don't know if it can really reduce their emissions. So that's also one of the uncertainties on the market that create confusion. And another important challenge for biomethane trading is the fragmentation on the markets. I think the previous presentation you saw already the different rules in different countries, and these are the big countries. The smaller countries also have different rules. It's difficult to follow how it works. But also, what are the exact rules? Which biomethane can be used? Does it need to be certain feedstocks? Which certificates can be used? So that is really a barrier to our challenge with trading, to follow all these rules. Yeah, so this is it, like a very brief overview of what are the main challenges with respect to cross-border trading of biomethane trading in general. If you ever have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. You find my email address here.
Thank you very much, Tim, for this presentation on the challenges for cross-border transfer and trades. And we are moving now to the last presentation before the roundtable we are holding today. It's time for listening for Gonçalo Lourinho. He is researcher at BIOREF CoLAB, and he's also the coordinator of HYFUELUP project. So, Gonçalo, please, it's your moment. The audio, it's...
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Thank you for the introduction and good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here today to discuss a key topic in Europe, such as biomethane and the policies that we need to put in place to accelerate its growth. So my name is Gonçalo Lourinho. I am here representing CoLAB BioRef. We are an RTO in Portugal, and we are currently the coordinators of the project HYFUELUP. And today I would like to discuss here and present to you the latest findings of our joint report on the state of play of biogas and biomethane in Europe. We will be covering a little bit of the barriers, the policies, and I would say the market strategies that we can implement to scale up biomethane production in Europe. So let's first take a little step back to understand why we're here today. So we are here because we are living in a moment where, for example, energy security, decarbonization, and energy affordability are really of paramount importance in Europe. So those are not just policy goals, let's say, but they are really priorities. And biomethane is a renewable gas that has the potential to help us on these three very important items. Today, we have the technology. We know that the benefits are clear, but progress has been slow. So this has been the main motivation for us to be here, to have worked on this report, and to help us better understand how can we move forward together as Europe. I will try to walk you to those three items that you see on the slide. So why do we need to scale up biomethane until 2030, and what's at stake? What are the biggest barriers preventing the growth in the sector? And then we will try to talk a little bit about policy and market recommendations that can drive this transformation that we want to achieve. So first of all, why is biomethane so important? So you know that the European Commission has recognized biomethane as a key energy carrier in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a very important renewable gas to ensure also our energy security. But beyond that, we also have unique benefits and unique advantages of this renewable gas. Of course, it's a fully renewable alternative to fossil gas. It can be stored, it can be transported through existing gas networks, which is clearly a benefit. It supports a circular economy in agriculture. So we here try to turn an organic waste, let's say, into a valuable products, a valuable energy or energy carrier. And it also helps reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, especially in a time in which we have geopolitics influencing a sector that is very important to our everyday life. So to capitalize on these benefits, you know, it has been discussed today that the EU has set a target of 35 BCM of biomethane production by 2030. And that is, as we saw in the first presentation, a massive increase from current levels. This means that to achieve this target, we need to invest, we need to work on our production capacity, to work on infrastructure, and to work on our policy developments. And this brings us to the key issue that we have today, or the key challenge that we have today, which is that despite these strong policy ambitions, progress has been behind schedule in terms of the scale up of the biomethane sector. Okay, and we we try to analyze these in our joint report, and we try to identify what are the regulatory and market barriers that are slowing down deployment. Today are looking at this from another side. What are the barriers that we need to remove in order to accelerate developments, to accelerate deployment, because deployment is happening right now. We just want it to be at a faster pace, let's say. So about the barriers, the first one, we really feel that we have an uncertain and fragmented regulatory framework all around Europe. So one of the biggest roadblocks are the inconsistent regulations across member states. We just saw in the last presentation that we have a few things to work out in terms of the harmonizing the market, in terms of certificates, in terms of the guarantees of origin. So that is one point, and that is an administrative barrier that we have to work on. We also have different countries having different permitting rules, subsidy schemes, and legal frameworks that make it difficult for developers, for investors to commit to large-scale projects. So we have a lot of project intentions, okay, but we really feel that we are missing out in terms of real deployment. We want more projects starting construction, which we already have, and less announcements, let's say. So this is a point. The second point is the lack of national targets and roadmaps in specific countries. So we have the overall target of the 35 BCM, which is ambitious, but many member states haven't set clear national targets on their roadmaps, on their NEACPs to reach it. And without these long-term policy commitments, businesses, developers will hesitate to invest in production. So it will be more difficult to close business plans and business models to achieve what we want to achieve. The third barrier is kind of a limited grid access and kind of some infrastructure challenges that we currently have. So even though that biomethane is produced nowadays in a relevant scale, getting it into the grid isn't always straightforward. There are challenges to achieve that. Sometimes the grid is a little bit far away from where we have the feedstock, for example. And in terms of context costs, we also have some work to do with TSOs in each country in order to improve the access to grids and so on. That is another conclusion from our report, and that we came up with by trusting the answers that we received from the questionnaire that Jaqueline talked in the beginning. And then we also have uneven financial incentives. Okay, so unlike other renewable energies, biomethane does not benefit from uniform subsidies to production across Europe. In certain aspects, this renewable gas doesn't need subsidies to again close an interesting business plan. But this is very related with scale, and if we want to scale up in decentralized production, we will need some specific and targeted subsidies to really help accelerate the sector. So this is kind of a main view of the legislative and administrative barriers that we have today. Okay, so I just gave you a general overview. Of course, we have a more targeted points that we can discuss. For example, the long permitting process are really a challenge for project developers, at least in markets where the value chain of biomethane and biogas is not that much very well developed. Okay, so we are in the beginning of creating a market, and of course permitting processes, regulations in getting the gas into the grid will be more difficult to overcome, and will be more challenging. Okay, so getting into the barriers, we now move to recommendations. Okay, the first recommendation that we have discussed in drafting this report is the need to create a stable and predictable regulatory framework. So this is why do we need this? We need this because investors need long-term certainty, okay, to implement their projects, to plan their projects. And for that, we need to establish clear and consistent rules in each country to biomethane and to develop biomethane projects. After that, we also need to standardize permitting and approval processes across member states. Okay, when I say standardize, we really need to clarify them and not necessarily simplify the standards and the permitting processes, but really clarify these processes in order to really streamline approval processes and so on. So this is another point. And another point is try to ensure a level playing field to biomethane in comparison with other renewable energy sources, because as we saw in the beginning, biomethane has also a lot of benefits, can be of extreme advantages to our energy policy for each country and for Europe as a whole, and we really should have it as a target, let's say. The second recommendation is related with what I said before, is really to strengthen national targets and support mechanisms. Okay, so countries should translate the EU certified BCM goal into, let's say, binding national targets. These would include requiring member states to adopt clear biomethane deployment roadmaps. Many countries already have biomethane or biogas roadmaps, but we really need kind of an acceleration of this deployment. We also need support in terms of infrastructure expansion, especially in terms of the distribution of biomethane, okay, for grid injection and for storage. And we also felt that we need some alignment in terms of national incentives with what we have in terms of the EU broader climate strategy. So sometimes we do not have the incentives at the national level to really promote our common goals. Okay, so related with what I said before, we need to really recognize biomethane as a full value, to recognize biomethane's full value, let's say, in the energy system, and look at this renewable gas as more than just a renewable fuel. Okay, so it's a flexible energy carrier that we can use for energy storage, to have flexibility to the grid. Okay, we can use it as to waste management, or as a strategy to waste management at the national level and at the regional level. And policies should really reflect this full value and create mechanisms that incentivize all these benefits and all these good characteristics that biomethane has. And then we also felt that it would be important to expand economic incentives of biomethane use also in the industry. Okay, there are a lot of heavy industries that can benefit from switching to renewable gas. We are here talking about biomethane. We could be talking about hydrogen, but we feel that we need stronger economic incentives to disseminate and to promote biomethane in all sectors of our economy. Of course, this can mean expanding the EU ETS coverage to include some industrial applications. We can talk about reducing taxes in some specific cases and so on, supporting R&D. So this is all things that we can do to really promote biomethane in all sectors of our economy, because the renewable gas will really contribute to decarbonize these sectors of the economy. And just to finalize, so that we can discuss this afterwards in the roundtable and in the questions that you may have, we also need to standardize registries of guarantees of origin. Tim already talked and explained this very well. So if you have any questions, we can discuss this afterwards. But it's a challenge, these harmonizations that we need between the systems that exist in Europe to certificate biomethane production. And then we need to design a cohesive, a consistent energy strategy for biomethane, because we really need long-term and integrated approach that, as I said, doesn't treat maybe biomethane as in isolation or as an isolated solution, but as a key part of our efforts to expand the energy transition. So this was just a general overview to set the stage for our discussion in the roundtable. You are very welcome to put your questions afterwards. And thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gonçalo, for the presentation. These recommendations are really the core of this report. So it was a very important part of this webinar to count on also these policy and market recommendations. And now it's time for the roundtable. You already know our panelists. They have been sharing with us in the webinar their different parts of the report. And we are also joined by Margarita de Gregorio. She is the Secretary General of BioPLAT, and she will also be the moderator of the roundtable. So I give the floor to our panelists, and let's see how it goes, the roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gonçalo, Jaqueline, and team to be part of this roundtable in which we are going to try to give an overview a little bit about how are we going to get the Repower Europe target for biomethane, which are the main drivers, barriers, and what is conditioning, you know, this pathway to get to reach the 35 BCMs of biogas, biomethane in 2030. So to this end, apart from the information you share in your presentations, as we just have only 5 years away, what do you think are the main barriers, or let's say the more horizontal barriers, the most common barriers in Europe that we are facing, we have to overcome to be faster, to be more efficient, to get to the target, you know, in 2030? Tim.
Yes, so of course, in ERGaR, we mostly deal with people trading biomethane. So my main barrier will focus on that. And I think it's clear there needs to be the high enough price. So demand needs to increase for biomethane. If you buy biomethane, it's more expensive than natural gas. I think it was mentioned already earlier, there's an issue with competitiveness in Europe. So for companies to invest in biomethane as off-takers, they need to have either subsidies or quotas. They need to be like a carrot or a stick. I think that's a very important one. And I think you also see it in different countries. I think it's one of the questions as well. In Spain, there's not so much, there's a lot of potential, but not so much production yet. And in France and Italy, it increased a lot. So there just needs to be the right supporting measures for demand. And I think that's one of the main barriers from our perspective.
Yeah. Regarding to Spain, we are lacking a real political will, you know. Our government is pushing mainly PV, wind, hydrogen, and storage. So that is basically the renewable energy policy in Spain. So we have all the eggs in the same basket. So this is one of the main problems we have now in Spain. So it's a question of political will. So it's like, anyone is against. I mean, we'll speak later about social license to operate, but in political terms, there is anyone against biogas, biomethane, but there is not enough political push, you know, for biomethane. Probably it's a question of there is not enough faith or trust, or I don't know how to explain, but it's something that is like there is a weak will, you know, to push biomethane here in Spain. So the targets that we have as a country are very modest, are very discreet. So we really need to change, you know, that situation. And now in several regions in Spain, because as you know, in Spain we are like we are a state, but very federal state. So we have like 17 regions in Spain. In some regions they are pushing, and there is a real political will. So let's see what happens in these 5 years. Maybe we are changing the game right now. Gonçalo, Jaqueline.
Yeah, I can maybe add some 2 or 3 points. So a point that I really feel that is hindering development is the permitting. So we still have lengthy permitting procedures that take a lot of time. We're talking about 1, 2, 3 years, okay, to have a project licensed, at least in Portugal. And this is really a problem for a developer, because it's very difficult to forecast and to project your investment in the future if you don't have this certainty. And we are all learning. So we as let's say project developers, the regulatory authorities are learning how to deal with this, because it's a new field, at least here in more south of Europe, let's say, and it's a process, but we need to solve it, and we need to solve it fast if we want to accelerate developments. And another point is, I feel feedstock availability, okay? Because at least again in Portugal, and I feel the same in Spain a little bit, we have the potential, but the potential is a little bit fragmented in terms of the geography. And sometimes it's very difficult to close a business case without or with a very fragmented feedstock in a region, for example. And so you have to take care of a lot of details in terms of logistics and so on, to really have a very robust project that you have confidence on, and that you know that you will give you some return. So this is more of I would say technical barrier, and we could also talk about the composition of the feedstock. Is it sustainable? Is the composition more or less the same from time to time? So these are all problems that developers are dealing with, and that we will need to solve to really scale up the market.
Jacqueline,
Yes.
you want to add something? Yes.
Yes, I would just, you said something like, yeah, there's no trust in biomethane or biomass. That's right. Maybe I would like to add the fact that we have to recognize, or the politicians have to recognize that, yes, to recognize that, yeah, biomethane, it was already said, biomethane is a promising option, or bioenergy is a promising option, and it is important to increase it, to combine it with other renewable energies, because of the energy security. It is of most important. Gonçalo said it. It was currently, we have a situation in each country. Yeah, we have to use, each country have to use their own potentials, their own resources. Yes, it should be important, and it is worth to invest in this kind of energy. So that is the most important, that we have to bring to the politicians. If we would like to have a framework for biogas or biomethane. So it is very important that we have the resources in each country on different level, of course, but we have to use these resources to be independent from fossil fuels and from other countries. So we have the option for each countries, but we have to combine this for Europe. So it's quite important right now. So that is the most important, what we have to recognize. And yes, we have to combine all these, all these resources to be big, to be bigger than just one country. So that is maybe very important to know. And we have to find, in my view, to have a long-term perspective, we have to decide, or maybe together, to harmonize the perspective of biogas and biomethane, where it is needed in the next 10 or 20 years. Right now, we use it for very efficient, I think. We use it for electricity and heat in combination, or for fuel. But at the end, maybe in 10 or 20 years, we have to see the way, where is this needed? Where are no other alternatives to use or to electrify the energy system or something like that. So bioenergy should be used in these applications where is no other alternative. So we have to focus. We have a little resource on bioenergy and biomass, but we should use it in the most efficient way. So that we have to discuss and to harmonize this idea and the perspectives to use where, in the long-term perspective, that is most important.
Perfect. There is a comment as well in the questions and answers part. There is no change in the last national climate plan, of Spain in regard. Yes, the objective was a little bit higher in the last update of the plan, and yes, something changed in the last 3 years in Spain. So we have more sector, we have more ambition in companies, we have more investment plans in companies as well. We have several roadmaps in several regions that have been developed. So we are better than 3 years ago, but it's not enough, and we are facing as well some social license to operate issues right now in some regions in Spain. I don't know what's going on in other European countries. How do you see the SLO issues are affecting the deployment of biomethane, and how are you coping with this in your countries? Jaqueline, Tim, Gonçalo.
Yeah, maybe I can start if nobody wants. Yes, in Germany, and I think maybe in Europe, we see, I spoke about the long-term perspective to use biomass in biogas, biomethane in several sectors. I think with the long-term perspectives, biomethane should be used in I already told it, in this sector where there are no other alternatives. So I expect in Germany, maybe in Europe and in the world, the industry for industrial processes, there is a need for biomass as well. So because there is no other alternatives in some sectors, industrial sectors, for I don't know, steel production, for instance, for example, is one case. So we have the need for the industry to be greener, to use not fossil fuels, to switch to renewables, and biomass is one for some industrial processes. Biomethane is one alternative, is a very good alternative to be greener and greener. And maybe this is a long-term perspective to have the utilization of biomethane in this kind of sector where no other alternatives are available. That is industrial in the long-term perspective, and maybe in some cases as a fuel for transportation, but just focused on heavy good transportation or shipping, something like that, where we have some, for the long-term perspectives, no other alternatives than biomethane. So maybe we can state it like that.
Gonçalo, Tim, do you want to add?
Yeah, maybe I want to respond to that, because it's a very tricky situation if you have government deciding, okay, this sector or not should use the biomethane. And also there's, I think, a difference between the long-term perspective, where indeed you want to use the biomethane for sectors where there's no other alternative, and it shouldn't be used for sectors that could use other renewable sources. or where it might be better to use the other ones. On the other hand, on the short term, there might be higher prices for certain sectors with biomethane, where it might be needed to benefit from these higher prices to get the sector growing. So I agree with Jaqueline that indeed there should be some planning in the long term, but in the short term, other factors also are important.
Yeah, just to add another point, Margarita. So if you mean by your question the social acceptance of biomethane projects, I understand that there are a little bit of a distrust from local communities to waste-based projects. So this is a natural thing to occur, I would say. But this comes mostly from lack of awareness of the benefits of the renewable gas and sometimes lack of knowledge. I was recently in a presentation of a biomethane unit in Portugal, and I was very pleased to see the involvement of local communities in the whole project. So you would have not only the municipality, you would have the farmers involved, you would have local representatives involved, and in that way you can really see these developments as an important thing for a regional community, as we have here in the interior of Portugal. So this is something that I think developers can work, and they can also try to develop projects, and I'm certain that they do it in many cases, to help minimize the impact of these projects. For example, something that I saw was there was kind of a really carefulness in the place where the digesters would be placed in the terrain, so that the visual impact was not that much. So you can pass in the road and you only see something on the horizon. You don't see the digesters, which in many cases can have 20 meters high or more, and the visual impact for the regional communities is not that much. So you can have kind of a tree barrier also to cover some of the visual impact and so on that you have from your project. So there are things that you can do to minimize this social impact and to increase this social license that developers need to have to their projects.
Okay. The clean industrial deal is being presented right now by the European Commission. So while we are celebrating this webinar, Jaqueline mentioned before the importance of biomethane to be more energy independent. I totally agree. You know, the strategic autonomy is something that we've been learned in the last 2-3 years since the Ukrainian conflicts, and how this strategic autonomy is affecting all member states, and how is this affecting as well our industry and other sectors of our economies. So the role of biomethane there is clearly very, very relevant. And how do you think as well, in terms of innovation and industrialization, we can keep advancing in this sector and keep going in the path to reach the Repower Europe target? So how do you think is the importance of making some innovation as we are doing in our projects? So what's the next step after we finish our projects, and how are we going to implement these innovative solutions we are working on, and how this can allow to speed up in reaching those targets?
It's a difficult question. I'm not an engineer, so I can only give my thoughts for it from our perspective. But I would say these innovative technologies need to be implemented, and if production increases, people learn more based on the innovative technologies, and it will be more mainstream, and it will improve. But yeah, not an engineer, so that's all I could.
Yeah, I think the next step is commercialization. So we are doing these projects in order to demonstrate technology, and this would really be the next step. So I really believe in gasification as a way to improve production in Europe. All the reports, all the biomethane potential assessments that we see, for example, from the EBA, from the Guidehouse report, etc., put gasification in a very good position to increase production levels in Europe. And most of our projects are working on that. And I really feel that we will have good developments in Europe regarding this technology, not only as a way of producing biomethane, for example, but also as a way to, for example, treat waste. Okay, so we have problems regarding MSW or RDF, and using this technology to also solve the problems that we have in terms of landfills and so on would be very important, exactly in the same way that we use anaerobic digestion to solve the problems with more organic wastes, let's say. So this will be really important. That's what we are trying to achieve with our projects, I would say.
May I have the floor now?
Sure, Francisco.
Yeah, thanks very much. I just would request a clarification from Tim Hammers. Tim, okay, first, the issue of my clarification is about the European trade on biomethane. In your presentation, you show a table comparing what is the current status about guarantees of origin and proof of sustainability amongst the different EU countries. I did not understand quite well what you did written in the proof of sustainability. It seems that the most of the European Union countries does not have clear entities for providing proof of sustainability. I believe that this is not the wrong. I believe that this is a wrong message, because all European Union, all the member states have clearly entities, usually government appointed, exactly like the guarantee of origins, to deliver, to monitor, and to fulfill the compliance of all the proof of sustainability for biomethane. So it's indeed the proof of sustainability are much more advanced in terms of cooperation, because it's under the RED 2 and in future the RED 3 directive, and it is a well-established procedure between the European Union member states. The guarantee of origins, yes, indeed, we have some more problems in terms of in terms of recognition amongst the different member states, but as you did mention, with the UDB, this will be solved most probably at short term, and another issue about this table is about the difference between book and claim and mass balancing. From my perspective, it's not such differences. Currently, the proof of sustainability for biomethane indeed is mass balancing, but this does not prevent that a kind of book and claim could be also implicit in this mass balancing. I just give you an example. For example, there are Portuguese companies that import biomethane from Denmark, and they will sell this biomethane in Portugal for transportation companies. So the national the gas grid is considered, we can use it, the gas grid through the Europe, from north to south of Europe or vice versa to as a mass balancing system. But at the end of the day, this is a book and claim system for renewable gases. Do you like to comment?
Yes, thank you. To also maybe go first on the proof sustainability. Yes, it's one of the key instruments. But this is not based on national registries. So everybody that's certified, all biomethane producers that are certified by an EU recognized voluntary scheme can issue this proof of sustainability. That's not dependent on national registries or anything. Everybody can do it. So that creates indeed a more harmonized European market. What happens in certain countries is that they put an additional database, like I mentioned, I think NABC, but Cabur in France, ELNA in Austria, where if you want to make use of this proof of sustainability still in that country, you still need to use the database. So that being said, you can use it all over Europe. And there's optional databases, but it's not mandatory. While the GEO registry, to make use of a GEO in a certain country, it's mandatory to have that GEO registry in that country. And they're not there yet in all countries, but they're getting there. We speak to a lot of GEO registries that are currently being developed and will be implemented this year or next year. So that's one thing. And then on the question mass balance, book and claim, that's a big issue. There's a lot of different gray zones on how you should do it, how you should do mass balancing. That depends on the rules of the voluntary schemes. So if you want to trade a proof of sustainability, you need to be certified, and the auditors of the voluntary schemes check your mass balancing. So in principle, you can send it all over Europe. You just need to make proof for your voluntary scheme that you bought and sold some gas with it. So yeah, it's very I think for this webinar is very complicated to go into detail, but it's quite similar, but there are extra requirements. So it's quite similar to book and claim, but there are extra requirements for the mass balancing.
Okay, thanks very much for your remarks.
Thank you, Francisco. Francisco is part of the HYFUELUP project. So thank you for your valuable contribution as well. And it's time to start closing this roundtable. There are some other questions in the questions and answer part. So how likely do you think the European Union will be able to remove barriers? So I think we all really want the European Commission in this clean industrial deal and in other plans and strategies that have been drafting in the last 8 months are removing as well some administrative barriers. As Gonçalo said before, permitting is a little bit complicated for projects, especially for small projects that are very strategic and very valuable for regions and for waste. So panelists, other wishes you have or other hopes you have for these 5 years to improve and to have less barriers and to have an easier path to reach the targets. What do you think? What are we expecting? Here what are the top 3 or top 5 actions? What do you think?
Maybe I can start. I think there are many challenges, we heard them, are also related to the national member states. So I don't think we should put all our hopes to the EU or the European Commission. There are many things they can do. From our perspective, provide more clarity, provide a good union database will really help. So I hope we're getting there, and I think they try. It just sometimes takes a while, and they can't do anything. It's up to the member states as well.
Jacqueline, you now in Germany has a new, I mean, you are forcing a new government as well, so you have both.
Yeah.
New European Commission, new government coming, so
Yes,
what are
that's
you
right.
expecting
We
as
will
a
see how it
sector?
works.
And you
Yes.
know, in other member states, we always look Germany, you know, as an example of renewables development. So what are you expecting there?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, I hope that we continue the way, increasing the renewables, increasing biogas, biomethane. Yes, that is my hope, and it works. We see it works. We have a high share of renewables in the energy system, not only in Germany, but in Europe as well. And it should be promoted again and again, and it should be increasing. That is the most important, that we don't fall back to the situation where we have fossil fuels or something like that. So that is not the right way, and it should be clear. But we will see how it works. But I see it like Tim. Each country has to make their homework, though. They have to find the targets. They have to find their own strategy to improve biomethane or biogas. That is the most important, or the renewables in a total, and to combine all. This is maybe the most important thing for me, to not to think just on one sector or one carriers, to combine renewables in the best way. That should be the next steps. We should go. Yes.
Gonçalo, as a Southern European country in which your government really prioritize biomethane, you know, how do you see the next 5 years, you know?
Yeah, so in Portugal, we have been dealing with our own governmental challenges. So we are hoping that the biomethane action plan that was approved back in 2023, 2024. So it was a process for us. We are really hoping that the implementation can start this year, in the next few months, that we can start seeing developments. We have a lot of interest in the value chain in Portugal because, as I said, we have the feedstock, and we are a very, very underexplored market. And what we hope until 2030 is to really see these developments, the deployment of new plants, and we just need a little bit of a push from our central government to really implement the measures that are on the biomethane action plan. And from there, I think the market will answer, and the sector will develop as we expect.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We are just 1 minute to 12, 1 minute to noon. Some conclusions: permitting, education, political will, make visible, you know, what we are doing, and you will have available the deliverable that all together drafted in the last year after this webinar. So we are trying to contribute as well as much as we can to make visible the possibilities that biogas and biomethane have, and as well how biogas and biomethane can be strategic for autonomy, for European autonomy, for industrialization, for waste treatment, for other socio-economical and environmental benefits in our region. So let's go for it. We have to make a big push. We have just 5 years left for 2030 to try to reach that Repower Europe 35 BCM target. So let's go for it. Thank you so much to all the participants. Thank you so much as well to the valuable panelists, to Adrian as well, to moderate in a perfect way this webinar. And we'll be in touch, and we'll be working together from all the European countries to reach this biomethane target, because that is going to be very valuable and very beneficial for all the European countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.